Hello, my name is Mohammed Kimji. The opening of Book 6 depicts a raging battle between the Achaeans and the Trojans, with momentum shifting, no side being able to secure any ground. The battle takes place between two rivers, the river Scamandros and the river Simois. Scamandros is also called Xanthos, and these are rivers in the region of Troy. So the grim encounter of Achaeans and Trojans was left to itself, and the battle veered greatly, now one way, now in another, over the plain, as they guided their bronze spears at each other. In the space between the waters of Xanthos and Simois. First Telamonian Aias, that bastion of the Achaeans, broke the Trojan battalions. Well, Aias is represented as a wall, a defensive wall for the Achaeans. We have seen that in prior videos. Here he breaks through a Trojan wall. The word battalion in Greek, the word that has been translated as battalion by Lattimore, is phalanx. The Greek word phalanx is describing a formation of soldiers that is a kind of wall. The soldiers' arms are interlocked. They have their shields out in front of them, and they have their spears. So you have a formation of soldiers that has the effect of a wall because they are all united as one force. Aias breaks through. In the carnage that follows, Menelaus captures a Trojan fighter whose name is Adrestos. Adrestos is thrown off his chariot, and he becomes entangled in some shrubs, and Menelaus has him, and he is about to kill him. Adrestos supplicates him. Adrestos grabs him by the knees. And we've spoken about supplication in book number 1. As a supplicant, one is beseeching the other whom one acknowledges is more powerful than he is. And this is what Adrestos does in pleading for his life. And he offers Menelaus something in return. Adrestos, at line number 45, caught him by the knees, supplicated, "Take me alive, son of Atreus, and take appropriate ransom." We know the word for ransom, ancient Greek word, is apoina. This is what Chryses brought to Agamemnon in book number 1. Offered a ransom in exchange for his daughter. We know that a ransom offer is done between enemies, not between friends. A ransom offer is made to another who is one's enemy in order to get something that the one who is offering the ransom believes was unjustly taken from him. So it's a hostile relation. We see that here. "Take me alive, son of Atreus, and take appropriate ransom. In my rich father's house, the treasures lie piled in abundance. Bronze is there, and gold, and difficultly wrought iron. My father would make you glad with abundant repayment, were he to hear that I am alive by the ships of the Achaeans." So he spoke and moved the spirit inside Menelaus. Menelaus is not moved by any notion of morality or any notion of conscience. Menelaus is not moved by the a sense of humanity for another person who is beseeching him for his life. He's moved by the prospect of apoina. He's moved by the prospect of receiving gold, silver, bronze. And now Menelaus was on the point of handing him to a henchman, a follower, to lead back to the Phastacian ships. But Agamemnon came on the run to join him. And he spoke his word of argument. Dear brother, O Menelaus, are you concerned so tenderly with these people? Did you in your house get the best treatment from the Trojans? No. Let not one of them go free of sudden death in our hands, not the young man-child, the unborn child of a pregnant Trojan woman that the mother carries still in her body, not even he, but let all of Ilion's people perish, utterly blotted out and unmourned for. So in this particular scene, we see that Agamemnon's intention is to wipe out every single human being in Troy, including the unborn children. It's one of those rare moments where we see that sacking a city may involve killing women and female children also. The hero spoke like this and bent the heart of his brother. He bends the heart of Menelaus. This is a description of the heart as being something like a piece of metal. They can be forged. We know that Hektor is described by Paris as having a heart like an axe blade. It's so foreign to any modern conception of what it means to have a heart. But it's entirely consistent with what we find in Greek literature. Since he urged justice, this from Agamemnon's point of view and from the Achaean point of view is justice, revenge. How opposite this idea is from the teaching in the Gospels that revenge is not justice and justice is not revenge. That God is love. Does that mean that love is God? But there's a notion of clearly the Gospels are expressing a common understanding of humanity as being the image of God. In knowing good and evil, and concept of the human being as sacred and holy and whole, as that than which nothing more valuable can be found in the world or out of the world. But the Greek concept of justice is revenge. The revenge for Paris dishonoring Menelaus by taking Helen, taking the form of making all the Trojans pay, such that not even one human being lives. The hero spoke like this and bent the heart of his brother, since he urged justice. Menelaus shoved with his hand Adrastos the warrior back from him, stabbed him in the side as he writhed over Atrides, setting his heel upon the midriff, wrenched out the ash spear. Nestor cries out at line number 67, let no man anymore hang back with his eye on the plunder, designing to take all the spoil he can back to the vessels. Let us kill the men now, and afterward, at your leisure, all along the plain, you can plunder the perished corpses. Now, Helenus is the brother of Hector, and Helenus is a seer. And he's described at line number 75 as being far the best of the augurs. He stands beside Aeneas and Hector, and he counsels them. He sees that the tide is turning against the Trojans. And you might be wondering at this point, well, didn't Zeus tell Thetis that he would bring honor to Achilles by giving the Trojans the strength to pin the Achaeans by the ships, massacring the Achaeans? And again, this will take place, but maybe Zeus is like a giant ocean liner that takes a while to change direction. At this point, Helenus sees that the Trojans are on the retreat. The Trojans are in a very bad situation. And so he counsels Hector, his brother, and he counsels Aeneas. He says at line number 78, you are our greatest in every course we take, whether it be in thought or in fighting. Stand your ground here. At line number 83, set all the battalions in motion. And he tells them that when the situation has been neutralized, Hector needs to go back into the city of Troy. He says at line number 86, Hector, go back again to the city, and there tell your mother and mine to assemble all the ladies of honor at the temple of gray-eyed Athena, high on the citadel, there opening with a key the door to the sacred chamber. Let her take a robe which seems to her the largest and loveliest in the great house, and that which is far her dearest possession, and lay it along the knees of Athena, the lovely-haired. Let her promise to dedicate within the shrine 12 heifers, yearlings, never broken, if only she will have pity on the town of Troy and the Trojan wives and their innocent children. So clearly at this point, Helenus believes that the fortunes of the Trojans rests with Athena. Athena is the goddess of war. We know that Athena is on the side of the Achaeans because she, like Hera, has been dishonored by Paris. So Hector will follow Helenus's instructions. He is going to go into the palace of Priam, his father. And he is going to tell his mother exactly what Helenus told him to tell his mother, that she must offer the loveliest of robes to the goddess, that she must offer 12 heifers. A heifer is a female bovine animal. Yearling means very, very young, around a year old. Never broken, which means that they're not yet domesticated. And to ask if Athena will have pity. And Hector again will follow these instructions. Hector heads back to see his mother in the palace. And the scene then changes to an exchange between Glaukos, who is a Trojan ally, the brother of the king of Lycia, Sarpedon. We will see that Sarpedon is Zeus's son. Glaukos is the brother of Sarpedon, and he speaks with Diomedes, the hero on the Achaean side, whose Aristeia came in book number 5. And Diomedes asks Glaukos at line number 123, who are you? And Glaukos replies, at line number 145, high-hearted son of Tydeus, why ask of my generation? As is the generation of leaves, so is that of humanity. The wind scatters the leaves on the ground, but the live timber burgeons with leaves again in the season of the spring returning. So one generation of men will grow while another dies. Look at Glaukos's response. What's the natural analog of a human being? A leaf. As is the generation of human beings, as is the generation of leaves, so is that of humanity. Leaves are not important. Leaves are dispensable. Leaves are replaceable. They come every spring, they fall every autumn. There's nothing special about a leaf. There's nothing precious about a leaf. Where I live in Toronto, there are stacks of leaves, windrows of leaves against fences in the fall. The human being is like a leaf, and generations of human beings are like generations of leaves. Leaves fall in the autumn when there are strong winds, when there is less sunlight, when the weather gets colder. It's part of a cycle of nature that doesn't end. You can see just in this passage that the human being is not depicted as having any intrinsic value. The fortunes that he suffers are like the fortunes of the leaves. They are contingent on that which the leaf does not control. Gusts of wind, daylight, weather. The human being is subject to that which affects him, but he can't do anything about it. We will see elsewhere in the Iliad that the human being is understood as a child of fate. Well, neither man ends up killing the other, as almost always happens in any confrontation between two warriors. And the reason that doesn't happen is that the grandfather of Diomedes once hosted the grandfather of Glaukos. And so there is a kind of friendship here, but even the friendship ends with Diomedes taking advantage of Glaukos when they exchange so-called gifts. We see that Glaukos exchanges with Diomedes armor of gold for armor of bronze. And at line number 236, we see that what Diomedes gets is 100 oxen's worth and what he gives is 9 oxen's worth. So even there, just in a simple encounter, although no one dies, we see that the exchange is ultimately not one of respect. And there is still a competitive struggle for honor. Well, Hector ends up in the palace of Priam. And he meets his mother. And his mother wants to bring him wine to offer as a libation to Zeus and to the other gods. And Hector won't take that. He won't offer these libations. And he says to her at line number 266, I would take shame to pour the glittering wine to Zeus. There is no means for a man to pray to the dark misted son of Kronos, with blood and muck all spattered upon him, right? He's covered, he's caked in blood and body fluids and whatever else gets on his body during battle. And that's a sign of how powerful he is. Just like a beast of prey is covered in blood when it kills a large animal and feeds on the flesh. But he tells his mother that she must go to the temple of the spoiler Athena at line number 269. We know that spoiler is the god of spoils. Assembling the ladies of honor and with things to be sacrificed, these are the heifers, and take a robe, which seems to be the largest and loveliest, and lay it across the knees. After Hector speaks to his mother, he goes to find Paris. And he says at line number 281, how I wish at this moment the earth might open beneath him. The Olympian let him live, a great sorrow to the Trojans and high-hearted Priam and all of his children. If only I could see him gone down to the house of the death god, then I could say my heart had forgotten its joyless affliction. That's, we know, consistent with what Hector had said of his brother in book number 3 when he saw his brother shrink from Menelaus. It's better if you had never been born or had been killed or had died unwedded. The Trojans are cowards in truth, else long before this you had worn a mantle of flying stones on your body, right? You should have been stoned to death if the Trojans were not cowards. Hector's mother, Hecabe, she does what Hector has commanded her to do. And it's interesting because the text says that when Hecabe goes into her store chamber at line number 288 onwards, there lay the elaborately wrought robes, the work of Sidonian women, whom Alexandros, Paris himself, the godlike, had brought home from the land of Sidon. Now that's on the Syrian coast. That's in the eastern Mediterranean. That's the western part of the Middle East. Crossing the wide sea on that journey when he brought back also gloriously descended Helen. Why would Paris go to Sidon when he's bringing Helen from Achaia? It's totally far east. So he must have taken a very, very long way to get to Troy, because he must have went all the way around the coast of the Mediterranean. When Hecabe goes to Athena's temple, with the other Trojan women, because Hector had told her to assemble all the ladies of honor. And when she does that and she goes into the temple, we are told that there is a priestess there. Her name is Theano. And she takes the robe, she lays it across the knees of Athena. Now, this would have been a statue. This would have been a large statue of Athena. Athena is not actually a goddess who is there, but this would have been a statue. And they lay the priestess lays the robe over the lap. And supplicates the statue of Athena, but we are told at line number 311 that Athena rejects this. The statue's face actually turns. Not a good sign. Hector makes it to Paris, Alexandros. And what's Paris doing? He's actually polishing his armor, the corselet, the shield, and turning in his hands, we are told, the curved bow at line number 322. And Hector scolds him. He tells him that the people are dying. And you're over here doing nothing, not fighting. At line number 354, Helen comes out. Helen is with Paris. And she says, come in and rest on this chair, my brother. Since it is in your heart, since it is on your heart beyond all others, that the hard work has fallen for the sake of dishonored me and the blind act of Alexandros, us two on whom Zeus set a vile destiny, so that hereafter we shall be made into things of song for men of the future. What has Helen just said? We know that Helen was taken by Paris to Troy, but we know that Helen was promised to Paris by Aphrodite. Helen here describes Paris as blind. The blind act of Alexandros. He was unknowing. He was ignorant. To speak about a human being as committing a blind act means that he was not knowing of what he was doing. Now, we know that in what Helen tells Hector is that Zeus set a vile destiny on us so that we shall be made into things of song for men of the future. So they will have immortality, but what kind of immortality will they have when they will be made into things of song? And the song will be a song of how the Trojans were destroyed. And why did Zeus set this destiny on Helen in Paris? Helen doesn't say. But here we have a vision of the human being that is subject to the will of Zeus, but no reason has to be given, or no reason can be given for the will of Zeus. The human being suffers or endures what Zeus gives. But there's no way to account for it. There's no way to stop it. There's no way to prevent it. Why did Zeus do this? So that this will be made into a thing of song. But what are people to learn from this song? And why will it be made into a thing of song? What are people to learn from a story of a mortal, Prince of Troy, Paris, being selected to judge among goddesses, each of whom desires honor for herself, and to deny this honor to others who want it just as much as she does, and for a mortal to have to choose among these goddesses, having no choice not to choose, but in choosing is destroyed by whatever choice he makes, because whatever goddess he doesn't choose will take revenge on him and will call that revenge just. What kind of condition or situation is Paris in? He has a choice, but what is the nature of his choice? When in fact, every choice that he can make will lead to his own destruction. This is very, very important because it communicates the hopelessness, the tragic condition of the human being. What are people to learn from this song? That they are blind, that they are like Paris, that they are like Helen? Now, Hector at this point makes his way to find his wife, Andromache, and he has difficulty finding her. He doesn't find her in the palace. And when he meets his housekeeper tells him that she's gone to the bastion of Ilion at line number 386 because she heard that the Trojans were losing. Now that Hector has some idea of where his wife is, he goes to find her and he meets her, and she comes running out to meet him. And this is the most important part of book number 6. And it's a part that I need to read line by line and make comments along the way. So at line number 394, Andromache comes out to meet Hector. Andromache, the daughter of high-hearted Eetion. Eetion is the king of Thebes, a city near Troy. Not Thebes in the Achaean mainland, but Thebes. And this is actually the place where Chryseis, daughter of Chryses, was captured when the city of Eetion fell. So Andromache is the daughter of the king. At line number 398, it was Eetion's daughter who had given to Hector of the bronze helm, his daughter. It was his daughter who was given to Hector of the bronze helm by the king. She came to him there, and beside her went an attendant carrying the boy in the fold of her bosom, a little child, only a baby, Hector's son, the admired, beautiful as a star, shining, whom Hector called Scamandrios, but all of the others Astyanax, lord of the city. Scamandrios sounds very much like the river Scamandros, and that's where that name comes from. Astyanax is Hector's son's other name, and Astyanax, we are told, literally means lord of the city. Since Hector alone saved Ilion, that's interesting. You get the sense of Hector's importance to the army, which will become particularly important later. Hector smiled in silence, line 404, as he looked on his son. But she, Andromache, stood close beside him, letting her tears fall, and clung to his hand and called him by name and spoke to him. And this is what Andromache tells her husband. Dearest, your own great strength will be your death. Stop there. Your own great strength will be your death. Why? You would think that the strong would be more likely to survive, especially in a world where the strong prey on the weak and the weak suffer what is done to them in the likeness of nature. Of course, in nature, it's not so easy to determine what's strong and what's weak. The lion is the king of the jungle, but the lion is also defeated by viruses and bacteria, the smallest of all things. Your own great strength will be your death. Well, if the task of a hero is to express his strength, and if to be a hero is to have high distinction, which is what everyone wants, so if the task is to count for something, to matter, to have honor, to have value, but if that brings your death, what kind of condition is the human being in? We know that in book number 1, Achilles, greatest of the Achaean fighters, in fact, greatest of the fighters, period, on both sides, is described as having the most miserable of all destinies. What is being communicated about the human being, where the task is to achieve great heights, but in achieving great heights, you bring your own downfall? Why do you bring your own downfall? Because the more honor you accumulate, the more others want what you have, the more others want to take it from you. Because you win honor by killing one who has honor. So to attain honor simply makes the target that is on your back larger. Your own great strength will be your death, and you have no pity on your little son, nor on me, ill-starred, which means ill-fated, who soon must be your widow. For presently the Achaeans gathering together will set upon you and kill you. And for me, it would be far better to sink into the earth when I have lost you, for there is no other consolation for me after you have gone to your destiny, only grief. Since I have no father, no honored mother, it was brilliant Achilles who slew my father, Aetion, when he stormed the strong-founded citadel of the Cilicians, Thebe of the towering gates. I'm jumping to 421. And they who were my 7 brothers in the great house all went upon a single day down into the house of the death god, for swift-footed, brilliant Achilles slaughtered all of them. So Achilles has killed Andromache's father, the king of Thebe. He has killed Andromache's 7 brothers. What happened to her mother? Well, let's see what Andromache says. For swift-footed, brilliant Achilles slaughtered all of them, all of my 7 brothers, as they were tending their white sheep and their lumbering oxen. It sounds like the brothers of Andromache weren't even doing anything. They were just on their land. They were doing agriculture. And Achilles killed them. Now, notice how Andromache refers to Achilles. It was brilliant Achilles. She is praising him. She is extolling him. Achilles is magnificent in Andromache's eyes, despite the fact that he has taken everything from her. He's brilliant because she shares the same heroic values that Achilles shares, that all the Achaeans share. She is within the time-based, honor-based system, not outside of it. So of course she would refer to Achilles as great. What happened to her mother? And when he had led my mother, who was queen, along with all his other possessions, Achilles released her again, accepting ransom beyond count. That's apeiresia apoina. That's what Agamemnon brought. Chryses in book number 1. But Artemis of the showering arrows struck her down in the halls of her father. So she's dead too, not by Achilles, but by Artemis, the virgin goddess of the hunt. Hektor, thus you are father to me, and my honored mother. You are my brother, and you it is who are my young husband. Please take pity upon me then. Stay here on the rampart, that you may not leave your child an orphan, your wife a widow. Hektor is everything to her. Hektor is our only protector. Not only is Hektor described as having alone saved Ilion, he is the protector of the city. One gets the sense of the fact that if Hektor dies, the city falls. And if the city falls, Andromache will be captured as a slave. And Andromache would rather be dead than be captured as a slave. Because again, to be captured as a slave, as a geras, as a prize of honor, you are taken by the one who has taken everything from you, and you are a possession of that one who has taken everything away from you. Your life is a life of a slave forever. We know how Agamemnon used Chryseis, daughter of Chryses, as he said in book number 1, as a sex slave and as a labor slave. Hektor says to Andromache in reply, line 440 onwards, all these things are in my mind also, lady. He does not disagree with her. If he dies, she is done for, and likely the city is done for. Yet I would feel deep shame before the Trojans and the Trojan women with trailing garments, if like a coward I were to shrink aside from the fighting. That's what Paris did in book number 3. And we saw again how Hektor rebuked his brother after seeing his brother shrink, how humiliating and shameful it is to do that. It is better not to be born than to do that. And the spirit will not let me, since I've learned to be valiant and to fight always among the foremost ranks of the Trojans, winning for my own self great glory and for my father. He doesn't mention his wife. For I know this thing well in my heart, and my mind knows it. There will come a day when sacred Ilion shall perish. Again, why? Why must there come a day when the city will fall? What is it about human life that makes it inevitable that cities will fall to other peoples? What is communicated about the relationship among human beings that makes it inevitable that there will never be peace among them? There will come a day when sacred Ilion shall perish, and Priam and the people of Priam of the strong ash spear. But it is not so much the pain to come of the Trojans that troubles me, not even of Priam the king, nor Hecabe, nor the thought of my brothers, who in their numbers and valor shall drop in the dust under the hands of men who hate them, as troubles me the thought of you. When some bronze-armored Achaean leads you off, taking away your day of liberty in tears, and in Argos you must work at the loom of another, a labor slave again, and carry water from the spring, Messius or Hyperia, all unwilling. You don't have a choice. Where are you going to run to if you're a slave? To your neighbor's house? If you run to your neighbor's house asking for help or asking for the police, your neighbor is like your captor. The police is your captor. All unwilling, but strong will be the necessity upon you. And someday, seeing you shedding tears, a man will say of you, "This is the wife of Hector, who was ever the bravest fighter of the Trojans, breakers of horses, in the days when they fought about Ilion." So one will speak of you. And for you, it will be yet a fresh grief to be widowed of such a man who could fight off the day of your slavery. But may I be dead, and the piled earth hide me under before I hear you crying, and know by this, that they drag you captive. So, what are Hector's choices at this point? By the way, the Trojans are referred to as breakers of horses. Hector is referred to as a breaker of horses, and I think that epithet is not, it's not just applied to Hector, but that refers to the domesticator of horses, taking a wild animal, a wild horse, and then domesticating that horse. What are Hector's options here? Well, he cannot fight, but if he doesn't fight, then he is a coward. And it's better to be dead than to be a coward. It's better to be dead than to bring shame upon the city. So he has to fight. He is also the Trojans' greatest fighter. He is the one that has saved Ilion. And so what would happen if he doesn't fight? Then the city would fall. So he has to fight for those two reasons. But if he fights, the chances are that he will die. And if he dies, then his wife will be taken captive by the Achaeans. And it's better to be dead than to watch his wife be taken captive. So if he doesn't fight, he would rather die. If he fights and dies, he would rather die before he sees his wife taken captive. But he also wants to protect his wife from being taken captive, so he can't die before she's taken captive. He doesn't want to die before she's taken captive, because he wants to fight to make sure that she's not taken captive. And what kind of a death is it if you fall to your enemy? In what sense do you win glory? You're the greatest Trojan fighter, but you have died, you have been killed, your team has been taken by the one who has killed you. Well, there's another option, and it's the unknowing that we find Hector raising as the possibility of getting out of this mess. Who knows? He says at line number 486, "Poor Andromache, why does your heart sorrow so much for me? No man is going to hurl me to Hades unless it is fated, but as for fate, I think that no man has yet escaped it once it has taken its first form. Neither brave man nor coward, Go therefore back to your house and take up your own work, the loom and the distaff. Again, these are instruments of weaving. And see to it that your handmaidens ply their work also, but the men must see to the fighting. All men who are the people of Ilion, but I beyond others. Now, this is the traditional role of the ancient Greek woman. You take care of the home. And the role of the man is to fight in battle. Now, I just want to call attention to something that I haven't mentioned. When Hektor is speaking to Andromache, he says, someday some man will say, this was the wife of Hektor, who was ever the bravest fighter of the Trojans, breakers of horses. He's imagining what will happen if he dies and she's taken captive. You can see how the wife is defined in terms of the husband. And he's imagining how he will be spoken about out loud, how he will be spoken about out loud when his wife is dragged away. She was the wife of Hektor, greatest of the Trojan fighters. Doesn't sound like the woman has an identity outside of the status of the man to whom she belongs. Next up, book number 7. My name is Mohammed Kimji. If you'd like to contact me on LinkedIn, my door is open there. Thank you for your time.